Okay. I've talked about the Ukrainian situation before, but things are getting a little dicey there. Sort of. I mean, the potential, considering who we have in power here, the potential is there for a big problem. Hopefully common sense will prevail, but you never know with these people. You know, I don't see a lot of common sense in our government. This whole situation started because we got it into our heads to overthrow the Ukrainian government, the democratically elected government. We wanted to get somebody in there who was more willing for us to be able to put weapons there to snuggle up to Russia. You know, that's always our big drive, kind of edge up on them. So we instigated this revolt, this big rebellion. It would never happen without us, but you know, we can't resist regime change. And so that's what we did. Then we weren't happy with that, so then we got this other clown elected, because that's what we do. You know, thinking, well, he's a professional actor. Maybe we can control this guy, you know, script him. Now, I always hear this when people are talking about it, how Russia invaded Ukraine or annexed Crimea. Well, you know, this stuff was all Soviet at one time. And when the rebellion happened, the people in Crimea just said, you know, we don't want any part of what's going on in Kiev. That's a whole another thing. You know, we've seen it before. You know, these people are really, the people in Kiev, or the government and the army, are really like Nazi sympathizers, like just down the line. And so these people in Crimea said, you know, we don't, and they voted to just stay out of Ukraine. They wanted out. And to me, they have a perfect right to do this. It wasn't some great instigation or great invasion by Russia. The people there just said, we don't want any part of that. So they voted. And it was like 97% voted to get out of that. Well, how can you call this an invasion? You know, we were upset at the time because we wanted to, if we'd have known this was going to happen, see, we were thinking, we get it all, it's all, we can control everything. And then Crimea said no. So we're pissed. Or miffed, let's say. Well, and then those two eastern provinces said, well, that looks good to us. We don't want any part of that either. Because they've seen it before. They've been through all this before. And they're ethnically Russian anyway. They speak Russian. They really have no connection to the Kiev part, which is more of your European thing. So, then we got the problem there. You know, and they really, the people, or the government in Kiev would just like to just wipe them out. And they try their hardest to just wipe them out. And we support that. We arm them. We sent in a hell of a pile of advisors like we did in Vietnam. Got to send in advisors first. But even on this rebellion thing, when this was going on, we were all over that, man. You know, and then, well, we'll just send in humanitarian aid like hell. We were sneaking in all kinds of stuff. load after load after load of weapons and ammunition going in there. To bug these people who simply said, well, we really don't want to be part of this. You know, you're National Socialist again. And it's pretty much, you know, it's the same thing here, where we now have a National Socialist government that a lot of people just want nothing to do with. I mean, I really don't consider the government that we now have here a legitimate government. And those people there really don't consider the government in Kiev the actual government. They want nothing to do with it. I mean, I can see exactly how they feel. But they don't like that. So Kiev has got to keep going in there and tormenting them. And it's funny, you know, like I said, we send in advisors. We take the Ukrainian military, bring them over to this country, and a bunch of them went up to Canada to train them, you know. And it was funny because there was a picture that turned up from in Canada where some of the Canadian bigwigs were posing with some of these neo-Nazis that they had brought over from Ukraine. And they were really hesitant because they didn't want this to be public that they were doing this. Well, they got them pictures and immediately used them for propaganda, you know, saying, oh, everybody's with us, you know, on our side. Look at all these Canadians. That hurt their feelings. But we got no business meddling in that. And even now, the excuse, you know, we were pushing all this stuff over there, giving them money, giving them weapons that they weren't supposed to have in the first place. And we keep whining it's because Russia is lining up on their border. Oh, well, they're really 140 miles away from their border. But even if they were right on the border, they got every right to protect their border. Just because we don't feel a need to protect our borders, you know, any country with common sense is going to watch your borders. It was funny because then when Biden was on the phone with that Zelensky, at that moment when he was on the phone with him, the Ukrainian Navy was making another run, you know. They got to torment, just like we got to torment the Russians all the time. You know, fly, oh, get there, you know, just toying with them, but eventually they get tired of that. And this Ukrainian Navy, using old Soviet boats or old boats that we gave them, likes to torment the Russians. And the Russians are a little touchy about this because now that bridge that they built that goes into Crimea, that is the lifeline for Crimea. It's the only way, you know. And the people in Kiev keep scheming on ways to get rid of this bridge. This bridge is a great thorn in their side. If they could destroy this bridge. So anytime they make a run for this bridge, they're going to get a response in a hurry. But that doesn't stop them from doing it. They got to keep poking at it. But it's like the same on the border. I mean, they keep pushing and pushing. But it's because, and they really want to get into NATO, Kiev does, because then they can get nuclear weapons there. Oh, if they had nukes. But we gotta, you know, I mean, there was an agreement. They were supposed to allow those two districts close to the Russian border. It's kind of a buffer zone. And they were supposed to back off, leave them a certain amount of being able to take care of themselves or kind of govern themselves. But Kiev can't stand that. They want to get right up against the Russian border, and we provoke that. You know, if something happens there, it's on us. But we gotta not let Ukraine drag us into this crap. You know, we got to quit giving them weapons and stuff. That's just asking for trouble. But this happens every time we do this regime change stuff. We tried that in Turkey, which is why Turkey, although Turkey is a NATO member, Turkey's way too smart to get too involved with us because they know how treacherous that is. Because we actually tried to overthrow their government. We just failed. They were on the ball, but Ukraine, they weren't smart enough, or they were corrupt enough that they let it happen. But they dreamed that, they're going to get into NATO, and they're going to get Crimea back, and they're going to push weapons right up onto the Russian border. And I tell you, that is not going to happen. The Russians won't let it happen. They shouldn't let it happen. They've got every right to defend their borders and to stop us. I mean, remember, when the Cuban Missile Crisis happened, how upset we were that the Soviets had put missiles in Cuba. Well, you think it bothers the Russians a little bit when we want to keep snuggling up to their border all the time? It ain't going to happen. But the idiots that are in power now, if they manage to let the puppets in Ukraine drag them into some battle, you're going to get what you deserve. No, it isn't going to work out well. And I think, this phone call that he had with Putin, that Biden did, which was a joke too, I think the people here are finally starting to realize we got no pull there. We got nothing going on there. It ain't going to happen. So hopefully, they were going to back off on the shipping weapons and stuff. But that whole sending over advisors and training their military and all, that's got to stop. That's just foolish. You're getting us into something you won't get us out of. Oh well, too cold to work out here today. I got something else to do. But I got to get at this one of these days. I got every part I need. Well, same with that Volkswagen sitting there. I got everything I need for that. But then I got to fire up the stove in here. But one of these days, I'll have to do that. But today I think I'll put tires on the 47. I think that's a good project. I like to, if I can get one good project done today, that's the one for today. Yeah, well. But it is so funny to watch people talking about this and completely gloss over how this all came to be in the first place. And one thing I noticed they aren't talking a lot about, they with all their pissing around and this stuff, now Belarus is kind of in the process of getting a joint defensive agreement with Russia, because they see what's going on in the other, and then people accuse Russia, they're trying to bring back the Soviet Union. No, they're just trying to keep NATO off of their doorstep, and I certainly don't blame them for that. But hopefully, I think in this last round of talks that they had, I think they realized all this bluffing and threatening, you don't mess around with Putin. It's just stupid. He isn't a diplomat. He says what he means to say. There's no bluffing with him like we always got to bluff and threaten and stuff. He doesn't do that. What he says goes, and I think our people are finally realizing, okay, we didn't mean to say that. Yeah. But then still, some of our senators, the one crazy ass one, we'll just send nukes over. How stupid is that? Start threatening to do a nuclear first strike on a Russian army that, like I say, is 140 miles inside their own border. We consider this such a threat that we want to send nukes over there? Damn stupid people. But if they let Ukraine drag us into a war that we cannot possibly win, and I think we're starting to realize that. And if anything goes on, of course, then you got China. China is who we should be watching. China is a threat to us. Russia is not a threat to us if we just leave them alone. You got to quit poking the bear. It doesn't pay. Everybody has learned this over the years, but people tend to forget history. So let's do it again. Start right in. Give them a little poke. See what happens. Gonna lose an arm.